Charles Starkweather was an American mass murderer from Lincoln, Nebraska, who murdered 11 people at the age of 19 years old. According to the courts, 10 of those murders were committed with either the assistance or the blessing of his 14-year-old girlfriend, Carol Ann Fugit.
Yeah, Carol Ann. And she's going to be coming up a lot. She is a interesting, controversial figure in true crime. She's still out there.
Is she?
7-8 years fun.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So hopefully she will respond. And we can talk to her after this and see what her analysis of our analysis is.
I just think the election was stolen.
You're very close. You're very, very close.
There's something horrifying about a 14-year-old giving you their blessing.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, a witch?
Kill.
Okay.
Yes, I will kill.
All right.
But this story is something that we've wanted to do for a long time. We covered this, I think, like a little bit when we did Spree Killers a million years ago.
Briefly, I mean, that episode was mostly just rereadings of the Richard McBeef play. Now, if I were to compare Charles Starkweather's general demeanor and outlook on life to anyone, I'd choose Joel Rifkin, because both men blamed every bad thing they ever did on the relentless bullying that they received growing up.
Well, it's just something about listening to the testimony of an old man, the testimony of an older man, constantly just being like, if everything, honestly, my whole life turned to shit when I was 4.
Right.
It's us like, you never had a chance, dude.
Well, I mean, they had a chance not to become serial killers. We
Yes.
were all bullied and everything. I mean,
Well,
but you gotta, it's
you're
tough.
f-
It is hard
you know,
to overcome.
It's about being hyper-focused on this perceived thing that then became your entire personality.
Well, while Rifkin was adopted, Charles was raised by his birth parents, Guy and Helen Starkweather. Born with conspicuous red hair in 1938, as the third of 7 kids, Charles was raised in a perfectly average lower-middle-class household and was considered a normal child until he entered preschool. That
Red
year,
hair is
though,
beautiful.
I'm
Red
just
hair's
saying.
fine.
Red hair is gorgeous.
Well, when I was a little boy, that was like, the pictures of me as a little boy, it's like, I'm just so fucking evil looking, because like half the red hair. The red hair does make you look like a little fucking demon.
No, it doesn't. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it does.
No, the problem child really hurt and set the redheads back quite a bit.
But Charlie Starkweather also didn't help.
Right.
Yeah. That year, though, the year that Charles entered preschool, he was playing Cowboys and Indians when he fell and hit his head on a wash tub, which puts him on the ever-growing list of killers who had childhood head injuries.
But that one wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't too terribly traumatic. It's nothing compared to, say, the blackouts and seizures suffered by John Wayne Gacy in his childhood. Well, besides the red hair, Charles was terribly shy and awkward in addition to having a speech impediment that caused him to switch his H's with his W's. For example, he would say wouse instead of house. During
He was a target for a reason in many ways as a child, because I've never heard of that speech impediment.
I haven't either. It's bizarre.
I've never heard of that.
It happens. It's Nebraska.
It's Nebraska.
During a speech in front of his class in which the kids giggled at his strange speech patterns, Charles had a panic attack, which quickly turned into the raging hatred that would spew forth from Starkweather for the rest of his short life. The speech impediment and red hair, however, weren't the only sources of bullying. He had a trifecta here.
Oh, yeah.
Starkweather was also massively bow-legged, wide enough where, in Charlie's words, a pig could run through without touching the sides.
Yeah,
See, that's cool.
To me, we now know that moseying is cool because pop culture made it cool.
Mosey around.
Yeah, and mostly it's just because we, pop culture, we see these things, all the cowboys, that's cool. At the time, made him a victim of everyone else because he was massively bow-legged. Actually, that's what is interesting, is that he was correct. He did have oval legs. And anything could squirt between there.
Well, it's kind of nice in case you're in a rodeo or something, have to avoid kind of a horse or a bear or a bull.
Or crawling mother.
Yeah, it's kind of good like that.
With all this put together, Charles would later say that his first day of school made him rebel against the entire human race.
It's like him and fucking Gigi Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand where he's coming from. He's quite upset. People were too mean to him.
Well, he did later at least admit that this wasn't a great excuse for murdering 11 people.
There's a lot of better excuses, like going to war. You can kill as many people over there. It's a great excuse. If somebody touches your car, you go there, you fucking cut his hand off, you bash his head because the fucking, you get the hood in your car, fuck
Absolutely.
you. That's my car, that's my second home.
I'm not sure if he had the opportunity to go to war. Is this Korean War time here? 50s?
Yeah, he would have been able to go to the Korean War, I think.
Yeah, he could have done that. Bow-legged. He could have gotten on one of those little bombs. And
They didn't want him.
He would have been
didn't want
4F. He would have been bow-legged. You can't get into the army if you're bow-legged.
But the thing is, isn't it easier to ride the turret of a tank?
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That'd be kind of fun on the outside, and then you're the lookout.
Yeah.
There's the other guys over there.
Perfect.
Well, back then, Starkweather used this anger as motivation to beat the other kids whenever he felt a hint of bullying. And since he was also a moron, he had that special kind of easily confused violent sensitivity that can be particularly dangerous.
He's just the type of guy that will fight you if you bump into him at the bar.
Yeah.
He is that type of, he became, at the age of 5, ready to fight anybody within arm's distance of him.
And blaming everybody else for all of his qualms.
Charles would also create provocation when none was present, and for this he was called a brute and a beast. But since he was also a bit of a worm, his classmates' favorite name to call Charles was, quote, red-headed, bow-legged Peckerwood.
I find the nickname to be long.
It is
And how many
long.
times did people say that, they yell that at me, but by the time they're done with it, I'm gone.
That's very true, or you're punching him or something.
It was more of a chant, like, red-headed, bow-legged Peckerwood, red-headed, bow-legged Peckerwood, and then they'd chase him around, and they'd say it over and over again.
Yeah.
He'd cry and cry.
But
We're creating a demon.
we're doing it. We're helping him. They did try to call him Woodpecker, too, which is fun.
Yeah.
Oh, woodpecker, peckerwood. I like it.
But he took it, again, I feel like, if you lean in, that's how you become a cool guy.
It's really
Because
not that bad of an insult.
if you're going to lean in and people calling you Woodpecker and you start calling yourself Woodpecker, that's fucking,
Yeah.
you're going to be a stunt cock in a stag film.
You could do that. I pecked your mom last night. Yeah, sure, I'm a woodpecker. I pecked your mom last night.
Whoa.
Something like that.
Whoa,
Whoa,
Kissel.
throw back at
Whoa.
him. Throw back at him.
And by the time he's 20, his name's just Woody, and all of a sudden he's Woody Starkweather. I'd fucking hang out with Woody Starkweather all night long.
Second. Talking about hot rods, gum, all our favorite songs, the ice cream dance, there is the hot dog dance, there's the corn pop shuffle.
Oh, you're going to love that. Cloudy with a chance of coming.
Because Charles Starkweather figured, hey, if I get married, everything will be better, he went to Carol Ann Fugett's house.
Oh, the dalliance of ignorance amongst our youth.
He went to Carol Ann Fugett's house on January 20th, 1958, to plead his case to Carol Ann's mother and stepfather. Now, Marion and Velda's hatred for Charles Starkweather had only grown over the 2 years he'd been seeing Carol Ann. So after a brief and terse conversation about marriage, Marion grabbed Charles by the collar and literally threw him out of the house.
Because he's also a foot taller than him. And at this point, this was like the third time where they're like, Charlie's not coming back in this house.
Yeah.
Like, they kept me, were like, he's not coming back.
Right.
And every single time he'd show back up, but like, he'd always come with different schemes. Like, he'd like show up being like, wow, that's so how I feel like we could flip your whole industry.
Oh
he'd say
my
to stuff
God.
and they're like, Charlie, you're a fucking moron. Get the fuck out of my house.
It seems like the parents really were trying to do the best they could.
Guys, sure.
Yeah. Well, that
did he
night,
do?
Charles claimed he dreamed of giant snakes squeezing him to death. And when Charles woke up screaming and soaked with sweat, he finally decided that Carol Ann's parents had to die.
Because of the dream?
Snakes?
Okay.
They sent the snakes to my dreams.
I don't know, buddy.
The next morning, Charles joined his brother on a garbage route to earn a little extra cash. And after the route was done, Charles borrowed his brother's .22 rifle, saying he was going hunting with Carol Ann's stepfather, Marion. By 1 p.m., Charles had shown up at Carol Ann's house with the .22, 2 boxes of ammunition, and some carpet samples he'd picked up on his garbage route.
See, this is at least he's starting to learn.
Well, this is the thing. He picked a bunch of stinky carpet samples out of the garbage.
Yeah.
And then this whole time, you're like, because, Carol Ann's mother, she's been wanting a new rug.
New carpet.
And
Absolutely.
so
Here's some
they-
samples.
But he goes in, he just throws them on the floor, being like, it's nice. Oh, that nice puke green.
That's a nice
just
one.
some puke. Scrape that off here.
What about that poopy brown?
We don't want to get, honestly, it started as a mauve.
Oh, isn't that nice? Just imagine if you were the size of a mouse, though. This could actually be good
could
enough
be
for a
good.
living room.
I mean, he planned to use the scavenged carpet samples as a peace offering. As Henry said, because Velda mentioned she wanted
he's a
new
cat.
carpet for their home. Yeah.
Now, you see this tiny little piece of soiled carpet?
That's really great.
Imagine hundreds more of these pieces.
Soiled carpet.
But the thing is that I only have this one
Just
piece.
that one. Anywhere to get the, how do we get the whole thing?
What's nice about this carpet is that it's perfect for kneeling on with one knee.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's
You got
just we need a
hamster.
lot more carpet.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
No, that's all I found.
That's all you got.
This is your carpet.
That's just a little bit, though.
It's enough to get a taste of a carpet.
I
That's
see.
the new company I think you guys could start called A Taste of Carpet.
Oh, I see.
We used to steal carpet from the back dumpster of a carpet warehouse to line the walls of our practice spaces with, so we wouldn't go deaf practicing in a metal storage space.
That's
There you
fucking
go.
awesome.
There
Yeah.
you go. Really cool.
But he also
Really
showed up with a rifle. And he does the thing where he walks up to Mary and he's like, hey, you want to go fucking hunting today? Like, he just shows up with the rifle and then he's just like, no.
Well, Marion wasn't awake yet. When Charles showed up to the door with the rifle and the carpet samples, Velda was a little hesitant, but I suppose the carpet samples worked because she reluctantly let him into the house after he explained that he wanted to ask Marion if he wanted to go hunting. And so Charles sat on their couch, working the bolt of the rifle in and out, over and over and over
Charlie,
again.
I know we might have had a discussion about you coming over unannounced, and maybe we can continue that discussion where you could leave.
You're going to want to check out those carpet samples.
I'm looking at all of them and smelling them.
Pretty cool, right?
They just seem to be, they have like a smell-o-vision style to them.
Yeah. We got them out of the trash.